Hey, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Real Cooking with Rapid Rod. Today's meal is going to be crab cakes, and we're going to be using the ingredients that you see on the countertop. We're going to be using red bell peppers, green bell peppers, celery stalks, fresh lemon, Hellmann's mayonnaise, parsley flakes, Tabasco sauce, Grey Poupon, panko breadcrumbs, Lee & Perrins Worcestershire sauce, Old Bay seasoning, garlic powder, and some thyme. We're also going to be using one whole egg and 1 pound of crab meat. So as we get ready to make our first crab cakes, I want you guys to set in, buckle up, and let's get to it. Okay, so we've opened up a can of lump crab meat, and we have a pretty good selection actually. You can see the really big, large stone-sized clumps and lumps of crab meat, which is a good thing. I'm going to go through these clumps with my hand gently because I want to pick out any pieces of shell or any extraneous matter that shouldn't be in there, because we don't want to bite into that when we bite into our crab cakes. And most importantly, we want to be mindful not to really disturb too much of the lump crab claw meat, because that's what you want when you bite into or cut open these crab cakes. You want to see the lumps nicely fluffy in there, and that's always appeasing and appealing to the eye. I just want to point out that I'm going to do this by hand. I don't have any plastic gloves, but I want to forewarn my viewers. I've washed my hands at least 5 times prior to doing this, and I'm a guy that likes to get my hands on anyway, but I know some people really have issues. So again, we're going to just go through the crab meat and gently check it to make sure that there are no shells or any sharp remainder of the crab shell or parts of the crab that we don't really want to cook in our crab cakes. And these all look to be really pretty well separated from the shells. So I think we're going to be okay. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is basically we want to crack this egg into this mixing bowl, making sure that none of the shell falls into the bowl, of course. And we're going to take our whisk and just break the egg down, first and foremost. Just a little bit. And then we're going to come back with about 1/4 cup of mayonnaise. So you want to do about 1/4 cup of mayonnaise for every pound of lump crab meat that you use. We'll put about 1/4 cup in there. And we're going to whisk that all together until you get a nice creamy texture with the egg and the mayonnaise. This is going to be the base for our crab meat. This is going to keep the crab cake together as we bake it. So you want to get it down to a consistency as such, right? So that there's no lumps or nothing, make everything basically nice and smooth. At that point, then we can add in a teaspoon of Old Bay, about a half a teaspoon of thyme, and we're going to put in a little less than a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. We're going to sprinkle in a little bit of parsley, and if you have fresh parsley, it'll be better, but I don't have any, so I'm using the dry cut parsley. And then we want about a tablespoon of Dijon mustard. And this is going to be our base mixture, and we just mix it up. And when we're ready to add the crab meat, we'll be right back. All right, so we just finished mixing in this base, and we're going to add in a couple of other ingredients that we have. And we have some chopped celery. I'm going to add some of that into our mix. We have some chopped onion. We're going to add into our mix. Now all of this is, at your desired taste. You don't have to add these things if you don't want to. I just put them in because I really like to cook with a lot of flavor. And these are green and red bell peppers. You want to put some of those in there as well. And with that, give it a real quick whisking around. And then comes the fun part, which is to take our luscious lump crab meat and we add that pound of crab meat to our mixture. And again, we're going to remember, as we gently mix the crab meat into our base, you want to just gently fold, right? Because you don't really want to break up that crab meat, because the whole idea is that you have the lump aspect of it. And that's going to really play nicely once we get our crab cakes doing what they're supposed to do. And it's at this point that we're folding in the crab meat nicely. Right? Pretty much have a preliminary coating of our base. At this point, we're going to add a 1/4 cup of panko, breadcrumbs. And basically, the breadcrumbs are going to act as a binder. This is what's going to kind of keep the crab cake in cake form. Depending on where you order out your crab cakes, a lot of times crab cakes can come with like a lot of bread filler and a lot of other fillers, and you get very little crab meat. This is one of the reasons why I like to make my own, because I know exactly how much crab is going into my crab cake, and I like my crab cake to be just that, a crab cake. So I use as little breadcrumbs as is possible, just basically enough to bind everything really nicely and keep the crab the crab cake form together. And then after we do a gentle tossing, again, you don't want to mix this up so much that it gets reduced to mush. You don't want that. And then I'm going to take maybe about a quarter of a lemon, and I picked up these cute little lemon savers, and I got them for lime and stuff like that. I think I got it at Trader Joe's. It saves you from keeps the lemon nice and moist. So I'm going to squeeze in just about a quarter of this lemon into my mixture as well, ensuring that no seeds get in there. There was only one seed in that lemon, so I got that out. And I will continue to gently fold to get that lemon juice in there real nice. And then all we're going to do is set this to chill anywhere from 20 minutes to 3 hours, depending on your preference. The longer you chill it, the better it has a chance to keep its consistency and not break apart when it's baking. So I'm going to put this in the fridge, I guess for about an hour, and then we'll come back and we'll begin to form our crab cakes. Okay, so it's about an hour or so later, and we've taken the crab meat out of the refrigerator. And so now what we're going to do is basically begin to mold the crab into crab cakes. Now, in my normal recipe that I normally make crab cakes with, I generally will bread my crab cakes with a bunch of cornflakes. If you take a handful of cornflakes and crush them up in your hands as finely as you can, put them in a bowl, you can form the patty of the crab cake and then roll it around in the cornflake, and then you can actually bake the crab cake that's kind of battered in these cornflakes. I'm telling you, you'll have a fantastic and phenomenal flaky, really flavorful, tender crab cake. But today, as I said, we used the panko and only a 1/4 cup, and we're going to basically make the crab cakes without the breading. And this is a different recipe, and we're going to go forward with it. We're going to be forming the shape of the crab cake with this circular mold. And what we want to do, most importantly, is that we want to make sure that the crab cake stays together and keeps its form, but we've got to do that as we make this mold by basically ensuring that we squeeze as much moisture out of the crab cake as is possible. And by doing that, then we definitely ensure that the cake will keep its form, the crab cake will keep its form as we cook. So you want to get as much moisture out of it as possible, and we'll begin in 1 second. So each of our crab cakes is going to be just about this size, and they're going to be maybe 2 inches high. So we're going to start again by taking, and I've washed my hands very cleanly, we're going to start by taking the crab and packing it down into our mold this way. And what we want to do is pack it down and get as much as this juice out of it as we can. And you see the juice coming out. We really want that juice to come out of the crab cake itself. Because the more the juice and the water we get out of there, the more it's going to stay together. Really press that. And then what we want to do is just raise the mold off of the crab cake and using the spatula we want to set the crab cake right on the tray. So that's one, and we're going to make a few more and we'll be back. Okay, so we were able to get 4 very densely packed crab cakes out of that 1 pound of crab meat. Now if you did this by hand, you could probably make, if not twice as many, at least another 2. But this is what I wanted to go with, and so as I said, they're very, very densely packed, and we've put them on a tray that's covered with aluminum foil and just a touch of spray, coating, the anti-stick coating. You can put a little olive oil down if you don't have the spray coating. And then we've preheated the oven to 500 degrees. We're just basically now going to take these formed crab cakes and put them into the oven at 500 degrees for just about 8 minutes, and we'll be back. Now for our sauce, what we're going to use, I'm actually going to finely dice up a slice of pickle here, and we're going to add to the tartar sauce a little dillweed and some horseradish to just give it a nice spicy little sauce to present the crab cake in. If you have dill pickles, that's predominantly what you really want to use. I'm using bread and butter stackers here because that's all that I had in the refrigerator, but I do want that kind of pickled flavor. So we're going to dice these up a little bit, and we're going to make just a little mixture and sauce once we plate the crab cakes, which are in the oven cooking right now. And so as I said, we're making our mixture of our dipping sauce, and then basically all we're going to do is plate this. And what we're going to do is just lay our mixture down on the plate like so. Give it a nice smear. And we're going to place our crab cake right on top of that. Later, and the crab cakes have come out of the oven, and they've held up pretty well. They look very, very tasty and scrumptious, and now all that's left to do is plate them. And what I'm going to do is take my trusty spatula, which has an edge to it here. It's not like a typical spatula. This is basically for picking up fish or things that may necessarily stick to the pan. A beveled edge is what I wanted to say. And we're going to take our crab cakes and see exactly where we're at. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. We were able to disconnect the crab cakes from the pan, which is why basically I said that you ultimately want to have a pie pan with alcofoil and then make sure you spray it with their non-cooking spray, because you'll really have a much easier time separating the bottom of the crab cake from the pan. But ultimately, voila, there you have Rapid Rod's version of crab cakes baked in the oven. We hope you enjoyed this video, and we hope to see you back here soon. All we've basically done is finishing off with a little garnish of lemon on top, and we sprinkled just a little dill around the rest of the plate. The crab cakes are resting nicely, they're nestled nicely in our sauce that we whipped up and created. So right about now, we are going to grit, and grease. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope you liked the video. Please subscribe if you did, and hit that thumbs up button. And now, as usual, we're at the moment of truth. Boy, I just want to say these are some pretty hefty crab cakes. These are at least 3.5 ounce crab cakes, and they would definitely fill a hungry person. So we're going to take a little forkful now with our glass of the bubbly, and we're going to see exactly where we're at. It breaks up nice and tender, and there you see the inside. You have all that surprising, beautiful lump crab meat as it breaks down very nicely out of the firm crab cake itself. We're going to get some of this sauce onto this. And let's see exactly what we have here. Oh man, you know, that's very, very flavorful. It's very tender. The inside is nice and hot with a nice browned outside. The firm consistency is there. Our sauce is nice and dill spiced, really tart like I like it. And these are some spectacular crab cakes. This is different from the version that I tell you that I normally make, using the crushed corn flakes to roll it to make the seasoning or the covering for the crab cakes, the coating. This is basically sans any coating whatsoever, no breadcrumbs whatsoever, just the quarter cup we used to bind the cakes. And what you have here is a true, authentic crab cake itself without a bunch of the fillers. So on my next bite, oh, that is so splendid. What a nice, tangy, sweet, flavorful, delicate taste. So I will bid you guys a bon appetit. And again, hit that thumbs up and subscribe if you like this video. Have a great night.